Hello friends, welcome back. We are learning inheritance. We have understood what is inheritance, the process of deriving a new class from an old class. Inheritance represents is a relationship, and we know the advantages and benefits of inheritance like reusability and extensibility. And we also know how to identify there is inheritance, there is a relationship between the objects. We took an example that of a game objects. There are many game objects like player, enemy, coin. They are all game objects. So we create something like this. Then we understood different types of inheritance like single level inheritance, multi-level inheritance, multiple inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, and hybrid inheritance. And we also know that there is no multiple inheritance with respect to classes. Because there are some conflicts occur because of multiple inheritance, we see them little bit later. And also, we won't use hybrid inheritance because if you have a hybrid inheritance, you can see that implicitly there is a multiple inheritance involved in this. There are two classes B and D from which C is getting inherited. This is a multiple inheritance. This part, if you see, it is a multiple inheritance, right friends? So, the multiple inheritance causes some conflicts or problems. We see them little bit later, step by step. Let's proceed for the next slide. In the next slide, we understood how do we define the derived classes. If I need to define a derived class, I need to use a keyword called as class. Then after that, I need to write the derived class name. Then I should write the colon. Then I should write the base class name. Simple. If we need to read this, how we read it? Let's take, there is a class, derived class, and there is a class called B, which is a base class. And A class inherits from B. We read something like this: A extends from B, or we say derived class A inherits from B, or A class derived from B class, or you can say A extends B, A inherits B, A derived from B. You can read like that. And also we have seen, you can see that we have written a class base, then we written a class derived colon base. You should remember that when inheritance happens, some of the members or all of the members of the base class will get inherit to the derived class. That makes the reusability of the code. That means you write the code in one place and you can reuse it again and again according to your requirement. Good. Then we understood the symbol for inheritance. Then we understood what is base class, what is derived class. Now base class is the class from which members are being inherited is known as base class, superclass, or parent class. Whereas the class which inherits the members of another class is known as a derived class, subclass, or a child class. We proceed further to the next slide where we use inheritance, where you normally find inheritance. Real-time examples, if I have to say, they are building libraries. When we build libraries, we find inheritance. If we are building frameworks, we find inheritance. If we are building engines, we find inheritance. That means whenever you build complex systems, that means let's take you are making a game. There you have a larger number of game elements, then you find inheritance there. You need to identify the inheritance, then you need to implement that inheritance into the code. Design the inheritance structure, then code it. Let's take an example here, Unity engine. As we are game developers, we are using Unity engine here. Unity engine is helpful for developing games and simulations. We know that. Now if you see here, Unity engine uses, you can see I am using the symbol also, an arrow mark which indicates uses, right? Has a relationship. Now here, Unity engine uses the .NET framework for implementing the programming logics in the game, and Box 2D engine helps us to implement physics in the game. Now Unity engine uses the .NET framework and Box 2D engine. Using the Unity engine, we start building the games. Of course, now what is .NET framework? It is a big library. It's a collection of libraries, I can say. There, of course, you find inheritance. If you open the library, you find the colon symbols in front of the class, and you find that there is an inheritance kind of thing happening. Box 2D engine is a library of classes. There also you find inheritance. We understand step by step, guys. Don't worry. Now, let's proceed and see by real examples, or practically we identify and understand what actually inheritance is, what is happening in the inheritance. how it is helpful for us. Let's take an example of finding the area of a rectangle. Somebody asked you, write a code for finding the area of a given rectangle. Now we know that this diagram that you see is a rectangle, and we know that this part is the width of the rectangle, this side is the height of the rectangle. Now there are two properties of a rectangle which we identified. One is the width, another one is the height. That's good. We also want to find out the area or a surface area of the rectangle. This filled area that you see here, the filled area, that is the area or a surface area of the rectangle. This inside complete part is the surface area of the rectangle. So that area is also one of the property of the rectangle. What we do, area of a rectangle is equal to width into height. That's a simple formula that we know that. So we can write a code for this. We can create one simple class named as a rectangle, which is going to have three properties: width, height, and the area. Simple. So let's write a code and understand. I open the Unity. I create a new project, and the project name I gave as Inheritance Demo. I put it at the desktop, 2D, and create project. So Unity creates a project for us and opens the Unity IDE. I go to the projects panel, I go to the assets folder, I create a new folder with the name as scenes, SCENES, scenes. Then I create another folder with the name as scripts, SCRIPTS, scripts. In the scripts folder, I create a new C# script. That's going to be Inheritance Demo. And what I do, I click on the camera, main camera, I say add component, scripts, inheritance demo. Then I save this scene, file, save scene as. In the scenes folder, I save it as CURRENT, current scene, and I just save it. Now we have in the scenes folder current scene, in the scripts folder inheritance demo CS file attached to the main camera. I just open the inheritance demo in the MonoDevelop. Here you can see that we have the inheritance demo.cs file open. I remove the unnecessary code that is not necessary at present. I remove that, hit enter, I remove this also. We have the code ready, friends. Now what we are going to do, as we want to solve the problem of finding the area of a rectangle, first of all I need to create a class called as rectangle, CLASS class. And you can read what is class. A class are declared using the keyword class. It has a syntax class, identifier. So I write the identifier as rectangle, 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 opening brace, closing brace. Guys, try to understand this. I write a class. Here you can read. Before the class you can write the modifiers, which are optional, public, private, protected, that keywords you can use to make your class give a protection level, different protection level. Then we return the class keyword, identifier. Then if you want to inherit something, you need to write a colon. Then you need to write the base list. That means the different classes that you are inheriting. Now here that is also optional. So you can see that I have written a class. Then the rectangle, we are not writing any colon, something like colon, MonoBehaviour, nothing we are writing, right? No problem. That is optional. We know that. Now in this I am going to create few members, public, float, width, public, float, height, public, float, area. You can see that I have three members, data members in the class rectangle. I can create the variable of the rectangle class. I can say, you can see that there is already built-in rect data structure in the Unity. We are not going to use that. We are using our own rectangle class that we created, rectangle. I can say here rect1, that is going to be the reference to a new rectangle that we are going to create. We know already what happens when this line will get executed. Very clearly we have understood when we learned first time how the class and structures work. If you forgot, please go back and see the videos of structures and class. Now here you can see that we created rectangle, rect1 is equal to new rectangle. A new rectangle is going to get created. That means when I say rect1 dot, I should be able to see width, height and area, right friends? You can see that. If I say here rect1 variable name, that is a reference name, if I put a dot, I can be able to see the members of the rect1 because dot is the member access operator. If I click on that, you can see that we can find the members of the rectangle class area, height and width. With that, we are finding some other members also. There are some other methods like equals, get hash code, get type, toString. What is this? We don't have these methods written in this class. Why we are finding them then? Why the system is telling that these are also the members of the rect1? There is inheritance happening behind the scene, friends. Now we need to understand from where these members are coming. We have seen these things before also when we were learning class objects. At that time I told you that from where these members are coming, I will tell them when we learn inheritance. This is the time to know from where these members are coming. Let's understand them. Now remember this, any class that you create is going to be already inherited from one class, and that class is known as object class. Every class in C# is going to inherit from the object class, or you can say that one or another way. Any type in C# is going to inherit from the object class, friends. Now as we are using Unity engine, as we are developing games using Unity engine, we need to remember here one of the most important point, friends. And what is that? Let me tell you. If I right click, say go to declaration. Yep, here we are. There are two different object classes. Object class, you find two different object class. One object class is coming from the Unity engine itself. There is an object class in the Unity engine namespace. You can see namespace, Unity engine, in that you have a class called as object. And it has few properties and many different methods. Can you see that? And even some overloaded operators like equal to, not equal to, right? You can see this. It has few properties like name, hide flags, few methods. Destroy method is there. Then we have some other methods like equals, get hash code, get instance ID, toString method, double equal to, not equal to, find object of type, right? There are many methods, find objects of type, find objects of type all. So there are many methods and properties are available in this object class which is in the Unity engine namespace. Good. There is one more class which is also having the same name, object, and that is going to be available in the .NET framework, the system namespace. You will find a object class. Let me show that, MNOP. Here you can see that there is a class called as object, and it is in the namespace system. In the system namespace you have a class called as object. This is from the .NET framework, not from the Unity engine. Understanding? And you can see that this object class has no property called as a name and hide flags. It has its own few methods like equals, reference equals, finalize, get hash code, get type, member wise clone, toString. Good. Now we got some information. Now one thing, just few minutes before I told that every class is going to inherit from the object class, and that class is actually this object class, guys. The class which is present in the system namespace, not in the Unity engine's namespace. We can prove that. Yes, we can prove that. Now let us see. Let me show that. And one of the important thing you need to remember here is that when the inheritance happens, all the members will not get inherit. Some members will get inherit to the derived class. Like you can see here in the object class we have many methods. There are few methods like equals is a method which is a static method. Reference equals is a static method. These two methods you will not find in the rect1 object. Let me show that. rect1 rect1 dot, if I put, you can find equals, get hash code and get type and toString methods available. They are inherited in the rectangle class. Whereas some methods are not inherited, which are like reference equals, which is a static method. That means static methods will not get inherit to the derived class. That also you should remember. Static methods, constructors will not get inherit in the derived class. Only the public methods and the protected methods will get inherit to the derived class. Like we can find equals, right? This equals method we find. We can find get hash code. We can find get type. We can find toString. So these methods are getting inherited, and we can find them. Even we have this equals method available in the derived class. Protected members also will get inherit, but they will be accessible only in the derived class. We see that step by step, we understand. But at present you remember that static methods and constructors will not get inherit to the derived class. Only the public members and the protected members will get inherit. As the public members can be accessible anywhere in any block, only those methods IntelliSense shows. These are public methods. This is public equals, public get hash code, public get type, public toString. Can you see that? We understand step by step. Don't worry guys. So can you see here the name property? No, there is no name property. That means this rectangle class is not inheriting from Unity Engine namespace object class. Now let me prove that one so that you get a clear idea. Let's take, this is a rectangle class. If I inherit it by saying colon, you can see this is a colon I am writing. I say here, if I want to access Unity Engine's object class, first I need to write Unity Engine namespace. I need to write namespace, name, then put a dot. I can access the object class. You can see that. If this time, you can see that explicitly I am telling that rectangle class need not to be inherited from this system object class. I want it explicitly, it should be inherited from the object class which is present in the Unity Engine. This time, if I say here rect1 dot, you can see you are not only finding the equals, get hash code and all, you also find the properties name and the hide flags. Can you see that? These two are present in the Unity Engine's object class. I have shown you that. Whereas these two are not present in the system's object class. Let me remove this and let me try to say here explicitly system dot object. I save this one and say here rect1 dot. You can see here if I say rect1 dot, this time it is showing area equals get hash code, get type, height, toString and width. You can see that this proves that the classes are implicitly inheriting from system.object, not from Unity Engine.object. So if I remove this also, we are going to find the same result. Area equals get hash code, get type, height, toString, width. So remember this guys. Now I hope you guys have understood that every class that you create implicitly getting inherited from the object class which is in the system namespace. You cannot simply say colon object. If you say colon object, the system will get confused with which object I need to inherit. Whether I have to inherit from the Unity Engine object or I have to inherit this class from system object. That will be a conflict. To remove that conflict, we need to write the namespace name first. We need to write the namespace name, then we should use the specific class. We understand namespaces little bit later, how they are helpful and how they remove some conflicts. We understand little bit later guys. When you have two classes with the same name, then you need to put them in different namespaces to remove the conflict, because you cannot have two classes with the same name in the single namespace. That we understand guys, step by step. At present we are interested in inheritance, so we want to know that clearly. Now let us understand and get some more information. Now what is inheritance? How it is working here means, let's come to this image. There is an object class in the system namespace which has few public methods at present, equals, get hash code, get type and toString. Good. There is a class, right? Now, if I say rectangle class, if we create a rectangle class without inheriting just class rectangle. Implicitly, it inherits from the system's object class. That means, as we know that inheritance, derived class is going to inherit all the members or some members of the base class. Right, friends? What happens means the system will inherit all the members from the base class to the rectangle class. Like this, it also going to add its own members to it. You can see that now your rectangle class is not only going to have the base class methods like equals, get hash code, get type, toStrings, it is also going to have its own properties which are width or its own members, width, height as well as area. This is going to be the design of your rectangle class, friends. So whenever you create an instance of the rectangle class, like rectangle rect1 equal to new rect1, new rectangle, rect1 is going to have all these members available to it. Understanding? Hope you guys are understanding. So here the inheritance, friends. Derived class is going to get all the members from its base class. Then it is going to have its own members. Good. As I told that we use the inheritance while building the libraries. Let's take somebody told to you that find the perimeter of the rectangle also for me. Somebody told you that please find the perimeter of the rectangle also for me. Now let's take, you have built your class which finds the area of the rectangle and you put that in the library. Once you put that in the library, you cannot modify, friends, because library contents you cannot modify. Let me show that. Let's take an example that object class. There is a class called object. Somebody told you to add some more properties to it or some more behaviors to it. You cannot add, nothing you can add. Even though you type, you cannot add. If you want to add it, if you want to build something better object class, then you have to inherit it. That's the only option you have. So here, you can just assume that this rectangle class you cannot modify. That means you cannot add a new property to it as a perimeter. No, you cannot add. Just assume. We can write here, but if we have built a library and that library has a class called as rectangle, if somebody told you to find out the perimeter of the rectangle as well as the area of the rectangle, then I need to rewrite all these things, right? I need to create another class. I need to say, let's take rectangle X. Rectangle X is something like an extended rectangle, which is much more better. Then I need to say, once again, all these members I need to create in this rectangle X class, because this rectangle X class should be able to find out now the area of the rectangle as well as the perimeter of the rectangle, both. So of course, this rectangle X also should have the width, the height and the area, as well as it should have another property called as a perimeter, which helps us to find out the perimeter of the rectangle, right? You can see that here is the code redundancy. We are writing this code again and again, 3 lines of code. That is not necessary. What we actually do means, we take this rectangle class, which is already there, available, we create another class, and let's take its name is rectangle X. And this time, we do not want it to get inherit from the object class. We want to inherit it from the rectangle class which we have already built. Let me save this. Now this rectangle X class is inheriting from rectangle class. This is how you inherit. You need to write the colon, then you should explicitly say that from which class it should inherit. I want this class, base class should be rectangle, because I want all these members to get inherit to the derived class. Then I can add the new behaviors or properties to the new class. At present I say perimeter. Simple. Saved it. Now this time rectangle X is not inheriting from the object class. It is inheriting from the rectangle class. And this rectangle class is inheriting from the object class. Now what happens in the inheritance hierarchy? This is actually, you can say, multi-level inheritance now. Why? Because multi-level inheritance, if you know, here you can see this is rectangle X class. It is inheriting from the rectangle class. Rectangle class is inheriting from the object class. So this is a multi-level inheritance, right, friends? Now in the multi-level inheritance, you should remember that the rectangle X class is going to have all the members from top to down plus its own members. We see that. What I do here, instead of saying rectangle X, rectangle rect1 equal to new rectangle, I say here rectangle X, rect X1 is equal to new rectangle X. This time, if I say rect X1 dot, you just need to observe here, guys. First thing, rect X has its own member perimeter, that is good. It also got inherited from the rectangle class, so it has rectangle class members also, height, area, width available to the rect X1. Also, it has the rectangle class base class, that is object class members also available here, equals, get hash code, get type, toString. Good, right? That is inheritance. That is how inheritance works. Let's come to this image and extend it. Now, when you say rectangle X inherit from rectangle class, rectangle, rectangle class, then what system does? It takes all the members from the rectangle class. You can see that it inherits all these members to the rectangle X. Plus, the rectangle X is also going to have its own members. It may be behavior or data member. That is going to be, in our case, perimeter. This is going to be the rectangle X class design, or every object is going to have these members in it. You can see that how inheritance is working. When you say rectangle X, rectangle, the system inherited the rectangle X members to the rect X, and the rectangle is inheriting from the object, so object members are inherited to the rectangle class, and those members also got inherited to the rectangle X, plus it has its own members also. This is how the inheritance works. Write the code once and reuse them. You need not to write the same code again and again in every place. That is reusability and extendability. You guys understand step by step. Don't worry, guys. Just try to understand what I am explaining over here. Now, they made an object class. In one or another way, in C# or a .NET framework, everything is an object. Everything inherited from the object. Understanding? So this helps us. This object class helps us, a super class of, or you can say a base class for every class, or the, what do you say, the super mother, you can say, of every class is an object class, or the root of every inheritance hierarchy is the object class. Now that helps us to make our code much more generic. That means the object class helps us to refer to any object, like we have learned boxing and unboxing. To that also object class will help us, and there are few common methods which we need to inherit in every class. So they made an object class which will get inherited to every class, you can say. I hope you guys have understood now clearly what inheritance does. What happens when you write rectangle colon object, rectangle X colon rectangle like this? What happens in a single level inheritance? What happens in a single level inheritance? What happens in a multi-level inheritance? How it works? And what is system.object? What is Unity engine.object? What is the difference between them? If you see here, if you take Unity scripting reference and read little bit about the object class, let me show you. Here, if I say object and look for that, if I click on this object class is from the Unity engine namespace, friends. It is a base class for all objects Unity can reference. That it is telling that it is a base class for every Unity scripting reference, script that you create. You can see inheritance demo. If I say it is inheriting from the MonoBehaviour, and we know that the MonoBehaviour is inheriting from the behavior is inheriting from the component is inheriting from the object class, and the object class has the name which is public. Definitely this name should be available in our inheritance demo implicitly. Why? Because it will get inherit to the downward, to bottom of the objects, bottom of the hierarchy. You can see that if I say here this dot, you can see there is a name property. Even though we have not written the name property in the inheritance demo, still it is available. That is the inheritance, friends. That is inheritance. Yeah, that is inheritance. Now let's come back here. Any public variable you make that derives from the object gets shown in the inspector of the drop target. We see this one we see later. You can see in the Unity Engine's object class there is a name property and the hide flags. There are some public methods, get instance, toString, destroy, these are static methods. Destroy immediate. These will not get inherit. These will not get inherit. There are some operators which are static. Understanding? So for this tutorial, I think this much is enough, friends. In the next tutorial, we create the complete rectangle class and rectangle X class and understand still more better and get some more information. Watch this video again and again, get clear with what is inheritance, how inheritance is working here. So thank you guys, thank you very much. See you in the next tutorial.